Hi and welcome to my playhouse, and today we're out in the garden and I'm hoping to talk about my solar panels because I got a question on a comment just well, that was the other day, if I could do an update on my solar system. Oh, and in the meanwhile the new robot is working here. It's actually doing really well. More or less all the weird kinks has been worked out, and it's doing a very, you might even be able to see the stripes in the lawn here. So it goes forth and back, and it does a really good job. I'm very happy with it now. So yeah, it was working down here. Might as well talk about it while we're here. But over the last many years, I've been messing around with my solar panel system on the roof of my house. And if we go around again, we can kind of see it. They are up there. We can zoom in and see. There is like 15 larger panels. All of these are the same panels. And the top 3 panels over here are the same as those over there. So there is a total of 15 of those. Then those 3 bottom panels behind the bushes there, they are smaller panels, and they are the ones that goes into the bunker and powers the bunker. It's a bit overkill, to be quite honest, at the moment. It's way too much power. Oh, I have to be careful not to get run over by the lawnmower here. Okay, it's not getting here yet. So the larger panels, the ones over there, they are like 330 watts, and the smaller ones over there are like 285 watts. So really not that much of a difference. So together with the panels on the roof, I also have 9 panels on the garage, and they are connected to the inverter. Yeah, so I've messed around with solar panels for quite a few years, and some of the first videos about solar on my channel, I was putting solar panels on the garage, and it was these panels up here. I was putting a whole lot of those on, and these are some very old panels, and I purchased them and they were broken. They had the damage on the back of them, and you can kind of see that it's the specs of it here. And this is only like 38 watt of a solar panel. That's because it's the older technology. It's not the new stuff, the squares that are sorted it on. Forgot what these are called. Monocrystalline, I forget. So, but yeah, these has an open circuit voltage of 60 volts and a short circuit current of 1 amp. So I plastered my garage with 8 of those panels because they are considerably smaller than the newer panels, and I messed around with that for years. In my garage here, I actually have the old grid tie inverters that I played around with those. These were very early grid tie inverters, and they were very difficult to work with. These 2 down here was like, I think they went up to 50 volts. Oh, it says it here. Okay, 28 volts to 55 volts. And they were way too expensive for what they could do, but not much was available back then. And I did try and run these, but as you just saw, the panels out there, they could go up to 60 volts. So sometimes these would kick off because the voltage was more than this could do, and then I wouldn't produce any more solar for the rest of the day until the voltage went down again, and these would kick back in. And that was a lot of power that was wasted, so I purchased one more. And this one went from 50 volts to 100 volts. So when these 2 kicked out, this one would kick in, and when it kicked in, it would pull the voltage down enough for these to kick in. it was doubtful. Back then I had an old power meter in the house, one of the analog rotating ones, and I think I had about 1,000 watt of solar power on the garage roof, and these could do 1,200 each, and really they I think they did about half, and so I got 2 of them. And I did manage to see my power meter go backwards on that analog rotating thing, but it was just me testing stuff. It never got to do a real difference in my power bill. It was a very expensive test, but yeah, we did that for a while. But at some point I decided that those panels was really crappy, and I got the new ones, the ones that are on here now. And they were 285 watt panels, and together with the newer panels I started doing it differently. I got this MPPT charge controller, which was awesome at the time and cheap, and so I took the power from the garage, and I put a pipe out here from the garage, and it goes well, from that corner over there, and it goes over here, and it goes into a corner of the house, actually right down there, and it goes into the basement. And in the basement I mounted one of these charge controllers, and that worked really well. The thing that didn't work very well was trying to power my data center. I could easily use the charge controller to charge up the battery, but the data center, the inverter for making 220-30 volts was doing weird stuff. I did that for a bit, but it wasn't really very good. At about the same time as this charge controller, I needed batteries, and first I did batteries from my mechanic, old car batteries, and I put 4 car batteries together to get up to 48 volts. But then my company was replacing all of its UPS batteries at a location, a data center, and I was able to get my little greedy hands on 24 of these large batteries, and these are from 2006. And when I got them, they were already like 10-12 years old. I actually do forget how old they were, but they were about to be replaced because they weren't very good anymore. So I got 24 of these, and they worked really well for about a couple of years when I was playing with this. And then at a time I was running on them, and I had forgotten to check the voltage on them, and they were getting very low on voltage. And when I realized that, I turned it off, but then it was too late. Plus, and they were low because there wasn't coming in enough sun to charge them up, and the weather just happened to be so awful the next few months that the batteries were never charged up again within that period of time. And lead acid batteries, sealed lead acid batteries, they don't do well with being undercharged for any amount of time. So cracks started showing. That's a joke. And the battery died. But I had another project as well. I was making cells, battery things out of laptop batteries here. Still have a lot that I haven't done here. But yeah, took 18650 cells out of batteries and put them into to larger setups like these. So here are some cells that I was supposed to be making. I kind of died in that project. It became a lot of work, but I did manage to make a few, and they are still located here in the battery room. They are probably out of balance, and I haven't had them on for approximately a few years. I don't really know what to do with them now. I had also gotten a second charge controller, and I had a 48 volt inverter that I was also using. I got that inverter because I was trying to use this UPS. This is a 48 volt UPS. It actually did okay.
At some point it was powering the data center, and it was making a lot of noises doing it. I'm not entirely sure what it was doing, but it was doing something wrong in powering it. I changed out the UPS for a dedicated inverter, and the dedicated inverter actually didn't do a much better job, but it took up less space because this thing had room for batteries and stuff, and yeah, it didn't really need to. I forgot to say, the reason why I switched from grid tie inverters and to inverters to charge up batteries was also because my power company, who I buy power from, they all of our power meters was replaced with new digital ones that could be monitored remotely, so they would be able to see if I was putting power out into the grid, where the analog one was just turning around and it was only read once a year, and I could kind of make power all summer and just use power all winter and everything would still be good. I never really did that. It never worked that long, and those Chinese grid tie inverters wasn't very reliable. So yeah, that's why I changed to try and store power out batteries and then convert it and then use the power locally. As you can hear, this was very noisy just a minute ago, and that's because it's working very well. So a couple of years ago, I bit the bullet and I purchased this very big and expensive hybrid inverter. This is like a 3,000 euros inverter. It's a 12 kilowatt one, and it's a lot of money compared to all the other stuff that I've been playing around with. This was very expensive. It was because me and a good friend, I wanted better solar panels, and we were betting on an auction from a company that had gone under for 30 solar panels, and that's those 330 watt solar panels. And yeah, we got that one, so we split it. He got 15 and I got 15, and so suddenly I had a lot of solar panels, and I needed more inverters, and this is this brand, and it's very respectable here in Denmark, and we have Facebook groups where people help each other with this inverter, because it has been like, as a lot of people that has purchased this, and so I found it a really good choice to get an inverter that it would be able to get good help on it. And right now you can kind of see the sun coming in on it, and it's actually doing really well. I'm getting about 5.43 kilowatts in of power at the moment. It's not going to the grid. It shows that the grid is powering it, but it's only like 20 watts that is coming from the grid, and it's all going to the battery. This grid tie inverter, you have full control over what it's doing. It has so many options. It's really cool. So last night the power price went up considerably, so I sold some of the power that I had stored on the batteries from yesterday, and I sold it to the grid when the power was expensive. And this inverter can do that. At the moment I'm doing it manually, and I'll go to the computer and show it to you, but yeah, this inverter can do that. This is my embarrassing little thing. I'm not satisfied with how these cables look. Yeah, that is not good enough yet. It doesn't look as good as it could. But yeah, I needed batteries for this inverter, and I started with some PylonTech batteries, rack mountable batteries, and PylonTech batteries are very good, very respectable brand, but they're also kind of expensive. And the PylonTech batteries that I got were 15S, meaning that there is like 15 cells inside, and everybody else is using a standard with 16 cells, and the inverter will do it no problem. As these batteries are a lot cheaper than the PylonTech ones, a set of these batteries are more power storage than both my rack mountable PylonTechs could hold, but they cost less than one of the PylonTechs. So more or less for a little bit less money, I could get more than twice the amount of storage capacity for batteries. So let's say this shelf here, which is about 10 kilowatt hours, 10.2 kilowatt hours of storage capacity, well, that would cost about 4 times as much if I continued with pylon tanks. So it was a very difficult decision to replace the pylon tank batteries because I paid way too much for them. It was about 1,800 euros for those 2 pylon tanks batteries, but in comparison, I got 6 of these batteries for a little bit more, and that's 3 times as much capacity and not a whole lot more money. Up here I have some other batteries. This is another brand. They don't actually fit the shelf as well as this brand. These were the first ones I got. Then I got these ones. Then I got a set of these. And then I purchased a whole lot more. I'm doing very well with batteries right now. In this stack of batteries is about 28 kilowatt hours of storage capacity. I always get a lot of comments that I don't really need to balance these batteries because they will self-balance because they have a BMS inside. But what I'm doing is I'm connecting 2 of these batteries in series to go from, these are 24 volt batteries, all of them are. All of these are 24 volt batteries, these are 24 volt batteries, these are 12 volt batteries. But these 2 batteries, they don't know what each other is doing. So what I've done is I have added a battery equalizer balancer here. So, and this thing, it just measures the voltage on each battery and it makes sure that there's the same voltage on each battery. If one of them is high, it can take a little bit of power from that high battery and put it over to the low battery, which means that these voltages here should be very equal all the time within a very small margin. At the moment it looks like it's 0.07 or something, which is 70 millivolts, which is perfectly fine, no problem whatsoever. Let's go to the computer and see what this has done over. Here we are at the computer, and the first thing I want to show you is this is the power cost from my power company. This is the prices that I have to pay for power right now. Every hour the price changes, and as we are in summer and the sun is shining right now, here in the middle of the day, the prices are actually negative. Is it? No, it's not negative today. Oh, it is. That's negative 0.01 kroner. That is not a lot of money, but yeah, I don't want to push out power to the grid in this period of time because I do not get anything for my power. So it's really awful time to be pushing out power. So what I've done, maybe I can actually, I can translate to English. Did it do anything? Yeah, it did. But it's still in Danish kroners. This is the raw power price from the power company. There is also taxes and a transport cost. And here is the full price of what the power costs to get to me. So the bottom part is the transport fee and taxes. And most of the time we pay more in taxes and transport. You can kind of see over here it's kind of equal. That's the highest price for power today. So if we remove all the taxes and stuff, we can see the raw power price. If I want to sell my power, it's very beneficial to do it when the power price is positive and not when it's negative or next to nothing or zero. So at the moment I'm charging my batteries in this period of time here. We are at the dot, so it's 12 o'clock, it's 12:42 at the moment. So the battery is, I think it was at 71 or 73% down there when we were looking at it. So this is where this very smart inverter comes in. So this is the cloud thing for my inverter, where I can jump in and I can see what it's doing. Actually works very well. So I can see that my
total production is 1.56 megawatts, and this month I've already done almost 300 kilowatt hours, and today I've done 19.3 kilowatt. Right now we're doing 5.4 kilowatts. I only have this one inverter of this brand, so and is the one down here, so we can go into that and we get another insight of what it's doing. Unfortunately, it does not show the battery in this graph up here, which is I think it's a bit of a shame that it doesn't do that. But we see those 5.4 kilowatt hours, and that goes into the inverter and it just disappears, because when it disappears, it goes to the battery. I am using 241 watts for the house. I have no idea where they go to. Really doesn't feel like I'm using that amount of power, but apparently I am. And nothing is going onto the grid. I am taking a little bit from the grid all the time. Very small amount. It should be 20 watts. Sometimes it varies up and down, but that's just to keep the meter busy. I'm not entirely sure why the meter needs to be busy, but well, the electricians that installed everything said that it was a good idea to keep the meter busy and pull in a bit of power. But over here we can see my consumption, and at the moment 100% of my consumption has come from PV, and that is solar power. And I've used about 81 kilowatt hours of power this month to date, and we are on the 11th of May. We see a graph of what it's doing today, and then we see the last days, or all the days of this month. The green is the solar power, the yellow is my consumption, what the house has used, and the red is what I have been exporting. So I've exported a lot more than I've used, so that is all good. I get a more detailed views of the inverter by clicking that one and clicking that one. And here I actually get the battery. So now we're at 78%, still getting, it has dropped a little bit, but here we can actually see that the solar panels are charging the batteries. So that is all good. If we move down to this graph, which starts at midnight and ends at midnight, we can see what I've been doing today. So the green line here is the battery in percentage, and it goes from about 40% at midnight and it stops at about 20% just before the sun started to shine, which is the blue line. That is the solar power coming in. I let the incoming solar power this morning go to the grids instead of charging up the batteries, because I knew that we were going to have these hours here where I would get absolutely nothing for my solar power. So if I charged up the battery here and I was done now, well, I would have more hours at the end where it would do absolutely nothing. Tried to drain it as much here, and then at about 8 o'clock I stopped exporting to the grid, and I'm now charging up the batteries. Then I'm gonna export a little bit tonight probably. I also need to see tomorrow. Tomorrow it looks like this. Looks like so far it's positive all the way, which means that we're probably not gonna get as much sun. When there's a lot of sun, you get those negative prices and next to nothing for your power, but tomorrow I would be able to export to the grid the whole day, but charging the battery would be best in this period of time when the prices are the lowest. But right now it's the weather is perfectly good outside, but it hasn't always been like that. This is the day where I had my inverter connected to the grid by an authorized electrician. 15th of October. We can see what the power looks like back then. The yellow thing beneath here is my consumption, the power that I've used. Then there is the purple thing, that is the power that I've purchased, and the green is the power that I have produced, or my solar panels has produced. And you can see October, it starts really well there in the middle of October, the 15th of October. We get some good lines, and then they become smaller towards the end of October. So the first day was actually not bad. I made 9.2 kilowatt hours, and I beat those the next 2 days, and I was so happy. But at the end of October, we were already down to 2.8 kilowatt hours because not a lot of sun. And if we move forward to November, you can see November was really bad. There was not a lot of solar there. Some days 0.3 kilowatt hours in an entire day from 8. Oh, there's a really bad one there, 0.2 kilowatt hours from 8,000 watts of solar panels, and you get 0.2 kilowatt hours. So very dark and gloomy. And yeah, you can also kind of see my usage. I probably did some washing or had the water heater on or something. December, also really bad. I don't know this one. It says that I've exported a lot of power. I don't think I have. For some reason it shows that I've exported that day, and even a bigger amount. Not sure how that happened, but you can clearly see the green line on top of here is next to nothing. So December was really awful in solar energy here. There's top performer in December was a day with 2.3 kilowatt hours of power. Awful. Then came January. January started really bad with solar power, but you can also see that I changed my consumption. I believe I turned off my 24/7 server and replaced it with a tiny little box. So that is clearly visible in my consumption here. And towards the end of January, we get some better days, like a day with 4 kilowatt hours and 4.5 kilowatt hours, which is, well, we're getting there. February, it's very clear that the days are getting better solar-wise, and I've also worked a lot on my consumption. We actually have a few days here with a lot of solar where all of my power needs has been solar powered in February. So that is absolutely awesome. Then we have a day like this where I've probably been washing my clothes or had the water heater on all day or something. And then I've had a lot of good days where I've used next to no power and the solar has been shining and making everything. So that's February. March, now that is starting to look really good, right? All of it is solar power. It's green, and this small purple one over here is not a lot. And in March here, I actually got my smallest power bill ever. It was like 156 Danish kroners. That is approximately $24 for power this entire month. So yeah, that was really cool. April is last month, and the red dots down here is me starting to experiment with now you can see here in March that I was making a lot of power. See more or less that I was 100% self-sufficient with power. I do believe that the purple things over here was more or less me messing around with testing out different stuff. So in April I signed up with a company so that I could start exporting my power to the grid instead of just having to use everything myself. The problem is that if you have solar panels and batteries and a usage, well, when the sun is shining and the batteries are full and you're not using any power, well, you're not producing any power. It's not as if the power goes anywhere, it's just not made. So when you have used a fortune on your solar setup and you sit and look at your graphs and can see that right now the sun is shining very brightly and the power is just nowhere because batteries are full. You really like to have it going somewhere. So I signed up with this company to export the power,
And to be really honest, this is not something that's gonna get anybody rich. The power prices, which we saw, was very low. When you purchase power, most of the power prices, those taxes and transport fees, the power itself, just a fraction of the taxes and fees. But I did get some really good days. So this day I produced like 38 kilowatt hours of power and I exported 41.2. So at the end of the day, the battery was more empty than at the start of the day. And of course, it becomes quite a sport to see what you can do. And this is what some not so sunny days looks like. So let's go forward to this month. It's May, and in May I've been continuing playing here. So still the yellow one is my consumption, the red one is the export. So you can see that I kind of use a similar amount every day. And the last one here is today, and the day is only half done, so I have only used about half of the power that I'm probably going to be using. So my power consumption is approximately 8 kilowatt hours a day, plus and minus. But everything is powered from solar at the moment, and enough to export quite a bit of it. If we look at the graph up here, we can actually see that of my production, I have exported 73% of that, and that is this month 219 kilowatt hours out of the 299.8. We could probably refresh this. Nah, no new numbers, but yeah. So I am actually making a tiny bit of money off that. So let's see that. This is the company that I'm selling my power to, and this letter is in Danish, and the red thing that you can see here says that this is a temporary calculation, so it's not the end result. It's a very nice service that they have, so you can go in and you can see where you're at from April and to about now, minus the last few days. The data is a few days delayed. I have made 185 Danish kroners. That is some amount in dollars. Then I'm on my second month. I pay 12 Danish kroners a month to be able to sell. It's a fee. So 12 Danish kroners, that's ever so slightly less than $2 to this company for them to do all the math and send me some money. Plus they take a fraction of a cent for every kilowatt hour. So at the moment, they calculate that I'm probably owed 153 Danish kroners, which is approximately $24. So if everything works out, I should get an invoice from the company that is selling me power at about the same number as from the company that I'm selling power to. So it's a kind of a big fat zero at the moment. I think you can see that this is something that I've been messing around with for many years, and it's not as such a money machine. At the moment it's like a zero machine. I'm not expecting to pay anything for power. From about March to at least the end of September, I would expect that my solar panels would be producing more power than I will be using, and I'll be able to sell that and pay the power company, because you have to have a subscription and fees and crap. And if all of those months are just zero, and the winter months I might be able to do a little bit of tweaking around. In the winter months, power is very cheap in the middle of the night, so I can charge the batteries in the middle of the night, and then I can use it in the daytime when power is very expensive. So even in winter, I will be able to benefit from the system, where I can store the cheap power and use it when it's ridiculously expensive. This is a very expensive system because I've been buying it over years. I did a calculation in a comment. Someone was asking about it, and it was in one of my battery videos of how much I had actually spent on all of this, and I didn't have the faintest idea because I had never calculated everything. And when I did, I got kind of a shock of how much I have spent.
I didn't put everything into it. My first solar panels I didn't include, but all the solar panels that is currently active I included, and some of those, the first ones, was way more expensive than they are today. So that kicks up the price quite a bit. But yeah, the number is almost 15,000 US dollars for my setup. The inverter is 3,000 US dollars alone, and the solar panels on the old solar panels are 2,500, and the new solar panels are about 2,000, and well, batteries and cables and all of that stuff. The electricians that connected everything, he was 1,000 euros. I got a new power meter, and I haven't dared to do the calculation of when this could make its money back. And now I've changed my power usage, so that also makes the calculations really weird. This became a really long story about my solar power system. Please remember to give this video a like. I asked you the other day on the window installation, and I got the most amount of likes in any video for a very long time. So if I could please bother you for a like again, I would very much appreciate that. Thank you very much for watching my videos. Do subscribe to my channel so that you can see me again, and have a really nice day. Bye bye.